So I just recently came back from a 2-week vacation in Japan to go see the cherry blossoms. Here we are in Tokyo, looking around the cherry blossoms. It was kind of not great weather in Tokyo, but we went to Kyoto, which is here, and much better weather. And there's cherry blossoms, little things that light up at night. Really kind of cool to see all the cherry blossoms. And they're not as pink as you think. The pink ones come out earlier before the big cherry blossom season. These are more like the whitish pink ones that we see here in these photographs that are all over. This was in Hiroshima. Back in Kyoto here with the pagoda. Really kind of cool to see them in person, really kind of pretty. And there were some that were still out there in pink. There's a Buddha in Kyoto. And this is in Kyoto too as well, this like little canal. And then some were like with this really kind of coral kind of pink. Really kind of cool. And this is in Kanazawa, the place where you have great sushi, by the way. These beautiful cherry blossoms around by the palace. You see the palace coming up in a second. So I thought it'd be great to do a tutorial on cherry blossoms, but really loose and kind of almost semi-abstract cherry blossom tutorial. Just playing with color, watercolor, moving the paintbrush around and some paint, and getting in the mood for it. So let's get started. So these are 2 photographs that I took. There's so many, most of the cherry blossoms you see during cherry blossom season will be the palish white. The ones before that are really bright pink are a different type of cherry blossom. They're early blooming. They're almost like they call them the plum cherry blossoms. More like plum blossoms, not cherry blossoms. The ones that come out during cherry blossom seasons like this. This one's a little more pinker, but when they open up, they become like almost like white, pale, super pink, whitish. They look very white up close. And some still in the same season come out this like coral color. Now, I think I have some cherry blossom tutorials over the years on here on YouTube, but it's basically like a 4 or 5 petal flower. So I'm just drawing. So you just do like a little petal. And then they have the stamens that kind of come out like that, right? Little dots. You can kind of see them here, the little sprayed little dots. Pale pink, little dots. This one over here has like yellow stamens in the middle and bigger kind of rounder petals like that, right? Now we're not going to be painting anything really hyper realistic. And then you see right here a cluster of ones that have not opened up yet. They'll be like this. So you have a stem and you're drawing the little clusters. So, and then there's the branch, and you'll see the branch right here. The branch comes down, and then you see the cluster like this and like this, like this, and off that are the blossoms. It's the darker branch, and then the green here, and then the cherry blossoms like this in the center. You know, so go look at some cherry blossoms online. The Patreon members will get these photographs that I have here that I took. Really kind of simple. And if you want it, you don't have to paint it perfectly like that. I think we're going to play with just putting in color and throwing a few in here and there that have the stamens, maybe some dots. But really loose with this. Nothing needed for tracing on this one. Just really get the feeling of the blossoms. And I'm using Fabriano's 100% cotton cold pressed paper block. It's 9x12. I'm going to play with a couple of brushes. I have my Princeton 12 Aqua Elite. I might use my Princeton 3/4 inch flower attached series flat wash. I'll definitely end up using a liner brush, maybe even my new Japanese brush here. And we're going to just play with some color here. And I have this brush I bought that I haven't used yet. It's kind of goofy. We'll see if I use this guy. This might be perfect for petals. I got this cheap brush. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby or somewhere. I don't know. So I have bright rose paint. I can add a little of the cadmium red light, and it gets that pretty corally color that you see on this one. The other one is more like the bright rose, just really watered down. Maybe like a touch of this color, because you can see the 2 colors. And if I just flip this and use this, and you take like a round brush like this, whatever round brush you have, and you're just kind of pushing, pushing, pushing. You've already created kind of a cherry blossom just by doing that, right? Again, you need a round brush. And you're just going to push the paint like that. Connect it, leave a little space here, right? You let that dry, and then you can take a liner brush or even the tip of this brush. I'm going to grab some paint, and we would do the little stamens like this, and you can do little dots, and that's a cherry blossom. Really kind of cute and simple, right? If you want to play with using a flat wash brush, make a cherry blossom. Get this other color. Just kind of twist the brush and get some water in here. Twist, turn, and that's, look at that. Another. It's just because it's pale and pink, right? And then you wait till that dries, and you can go in and you can take your liner brush, and you can do the little stamens coming out like that. The more abstract kind of looking style. Okay, see? Just like that. And I kind of like that. I like this too, but I want to play, right? We don't want to have to be so serious. And then the branches, of course, a really deep dark gray or brown. I was using that sepia paint that I bought. If I can find it now, I just had it here. I bought sepia from Holbein, but you can make the same color by using like Payne's gray and burnt umber. Just playing with this deep dark brown. The branches. You see? And you feel like that's a cherry blossom. Boom. Little branches. So we're going to play with both. And what we're going to do first, though, which I've done many times, is you get some areas of the paper wet with water, and then you drop in the color, and then you kind of use the brush to create some of the blossoms, right? And then we'll go in and we'll add the branches. And that's the technique we're going to be doing today. Okay, so I'm going to take a flat wash brush, this one I have here, and I'm just going to take it and kind of twist some, oh, it's still kind of pink on there, pale like water, leaving spaces in between, and going up kind of like almost in a diagonal this way, going down. We're just twisting it. You see those puddles. You can do a round brush, need be. And then we're going to just kind of throw some color in there and see what happens. Getting to feel the cherry blossoms, right? This color right here. Let's just start to throw some of that pale, even this color is pretty, this pale pink. Maybe use both combination. Now we're just tapping that across, right? You can kind of move the paint a little bit. Just tapping that light pale pink. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm like coughing in my studio these days. I'm just kind of tapping, twisting my brush, and putting that pale color in there. Really pale, a bright rose, by the way. Now it looks like nothing now, but you get the feel that there's some kind of blossom, right? We can add some green in a second, but I'm just kind of throwing this color, twisting my brush. And then remember the one that I kind of painted here was like a serious one. While it's, you know, this stuff's just wet, you kind of play with that. Put a little bloom, that's a shape of that bloom right there. So I just kind of pushed on the side, push back, connect it. That's all I did. Make some petals. Kind of coming out here. To look like the cherry blossom. We got the pale color in the background, and every now and then we'll put in like a, just gonna twist, add a line, twist. And a few smaller ones out this way. So I've got both colors kind of happening in here. And you could use a different brush, like so now I'm using that flat wash brush. Now I might switch to a round brush. So I have my number 12 Aqua Elite. And let's take this color that I have here, and I'll just make some little blossom petals shapes with this pale color. Cluster it. Same thing here. We'll be adding the green stems in a second. Just a little petal. You can leave a little space or not. And I'm going to put some, because I wanted to kind of cascade downward. Little ones here. connecting. So it's like semi-abstract. Has a lot of feeling to this. Like there's just a lot of movement, and that's what we're going for. I'm gonna grab it and twist it and make little petals over here. For some people this might be challenging, but there's no right and wrong to it. You see, you can make some shapes that look like real petals here and not here. We'll throw some branches in a bit. Well, right now we're just putting in a pale color pink. I'm mixing them both now. You can take a little deeper color of the two. And every now and then tap in some of that deeper color. Why not? It doesn't have to be super pale everywhere. Let's get a little bit bolder in our color. So it's bleeding a little bit. I'm just kind of tapping some of that darker color up this way. So it has a feeling of it, right? We do want to let it sit for a bit, because if I'm going to start to put a branch in here now and some greens, because it's wet, it's going to start to bleed. You have to let some of it dry. And we can go right back over on some of these areas that are dry with the same color and get this glazing technique. This is still very wet. So I'm going to let some of this dry. We're going to come back in and do some glazing and adding some stems. So now it's dry. I'm going to mix some greens for those green stems I was talking about that connect to the branch. So I'll use cadmium yellow deep and a little bit of Prussian blue, get the perfect green color. It's not, there's some areas that are paler and some areas that are darker, and I'll add a little burnt umber in there too. So you got two tones going there. I'll grab my liner brush. This is a Umbria, Princeton Umbria number 4 liner brush. And so remember, we talked about drawing these little stems and then that. So you kind of play with like maybe putting some like this, the connecting, and then you know you're going to have the branch off of that, right? Same right here. These little like lines connecting. And then we'll put a branch there. Almost like looks like little spikes kind of connecting them, but that's what it is. Remember, this is not super hyper realistic. We're having a little bit of fun with this. Just getting the feeling of the cherry blossoms. And put the little green here. And then I'm going to add some of the branches. So you could use the sepia, or you could mix ultramarine blue deep, which I have over here, and burnt sienna, which is a nice grayish color. It could be brown. The more blue, you can make it blue. It almost looks like sepia, right? Or if you have sepia, right here. Or if you want more blue, gray, brown. So now I have to make some branches connecting. You can have them kind of poking through. Connect to that. Just going to connect some of the branches. Just like so. And then of course way up here, and I'll probably put a bigger, wider branch. But right now I'm just putting these little ones. I'm going to grab my sepia color. Kind of put those through. Coming down like that. See, you're just kind of breaking it up in between where you see color. Coming down like that. We can add some flowers to these. And then maybe make some like wider, bigger branch coming from the top left-hand side, going down in between some of these blooms. So we get a little bit deeper and darker coming in here. Looks a little bit more like the actual cherry blossom branch, right? Not much effort here. Really simple. We could put a few kind of coming over it. Get, you know, creative with it. Yeah. Love a good liner brush. Get a little bigger here. See, just building the branch. Simple little cherry blossoms. You can start to put some smaller ones in here. And then we'll just build off that with some smaller blossoms and go in here and do some little detail. Just throwing in a little bit more branches in here. Okay, I do like this little jarring kind of, not smooth kind of branch, a little jiggity jaggedy. Just like so. I think that's good enough. With the liner brush, go back in with our number 12 aqua. I'm going to remove some of the paint here. Mix up our color again, which is the cadmium red light and bright rose. Let's water it down. And you can go back over some of the blooms again that you kind of painted, a little bit more realistic. Or add some little ones down here. Just a shape. I showed you that shape before. And then when that dries, we can go back in again and add some of the stamens. So now we're adding like more petal shapes. And if we want to add just more bright rose ones too. Connecting to this green, clustering a few that are connecting to those greens just by tapping the brush. And we didn't do any like non-open blooms, so we can try to play with some of that, like maybe here, just little dabs of oval kind of circular kind of dots. We can kind of play with that. Connecting to these greens. You could do some of those, just tapping the darker color. And again, just going in here and making the petal shapes. Like I said, it's not a serious painting. It's just to get the feel of cherry blossoms, the color of it. There's plenty of ways to make serious paintings. I really just want you to have fun. I know for myself, I had a hard time coming back and starting to paint again because I was on vacation and I'm so busy taking photographs and seeing what's in there. I did a couple of times I did plein air. It was a little frustrating because there was so many tourists that they were kind of going behind me, and I really don't like a lot of people behind me, so I stopped doing it. I do it on my retreats, but it's different. It's not as many people behind me. So, it's a little different situation. So I spent a lot of time taking photographs more than anything, and I was really kind of sick the first 7 days, so I wasn't in the mood to do anything but try and push through where I had to go and get better. So here I'm just tapping in a deeper color I talked about earlier. So you get that feel of the cherry blossom. Kind of clustering, making it a little bit bigger, pushing down, making little petal shapes. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super serious. Okay, we'll let that part dry, and then we're going to come back in and last but not least and add some little stamens and little dots. Okay, so now it's dry. You can kind of do like the little lines, kind of like this on some of these. Again, they don't have to be perfect because they're not supposed to be. Just putting the liner brush, just pulling out little lines like this on some of them. And then you can add little dots to it too. Maybe make it a little bit darker. I'm using the pink and the red again. So here you can just add little dots and maybe put some little, same thing, little dots, and then pull little stamens out. Even though the ones that don't look like there's much of any kind of flower, you can just do this too. It just makes it look a little bit more realistic. And adding little dots and then pulling the little stamens. Little dots and then a couple little stamens. If you want them even darker, more pink. I'm going to grab some more rose. It's looking a little too red. So I'm grabbing more bright rose. Just drawing little lines in there. It's really kind of soft and pale and simple. You can make it more bold if you would like to. It's completely up to you how you want to perceive your little cherry blossoms. Right? I might say, oh, these are kind of like really so faint. But that's kind of how they look really in person. They don't even look this dark. They're so light. They're so pale. And I kid you not. That's kind of it, right? You have a few petals that you see there. I might go back and add some more green. Connecting some of these little guys here. And the branches. There's a few leaves here and there, not much. If you want to add a couple of leaves, just take one of these round brushes and just kind of push down and add just a couple of the greens kind of going through. See, just kind of pushing here and there. Add some leaves around the blooms a little bit. And kind of next to the stems. Just tapping my brush real quickly. Getting a little bit of bright color green poked in there. Some leaves. That's kind of really it. Another thing I might do at the end, I might just splatter a little bit of pink. So just get some loose pink color, tap it on a brush, splatter a little bit. So that gives you little dots too, by the way. Little goes a long way. So that's pretty enough. Now people are going to say to me, why is she ruining it? I like it like that, but I just feel like it's just lost a little energy for me. I might kind of like do a little mushing, where I take the brush and kind of just move the paint around a little bit here. So it gives a little softer look. Let's see how this comes out. You know, play around with some areas like this. Just playing a little bit and see what comes out of it. Could even add a little more color, just kind of playing with color, throwing the color in. Look at a big old branch. Moving my chair. add like a pink color in here. Right? It's white, but you can add pink. Or even some blue. I like to play and push things to different limits. Not everybody's for that. All right, maybe if I actually remove some of the paint, I could put in some like ultramarine blue deep, which is a nice pretty color. Kind of around here. Let's see how I like that. And that's going to turn that a little bit purple. I'm going to remove some of that pink color. I want to add the blue. Just going in here on the little spots that are just empty and sitting there adding the blue. Get a little softer, which is what I was going for. Ultramarine blue, deep. Kind of breaks up the flowers a bit, doesn't it? I can add a little burnt sienna. Just kind of tone this down so it's not so blue, more grayish. And add that up in here. Get some deeper color flowing in here. It just kind of felt like my blossoms were just hanging out and they were kind of boring. So I have to add a little color to them. And a lot of days were gray, so in Tokyo anyway, not in Kyoto. So I'm adding a little bit of gray tones. This is going to help this a bit. Just to feel like a little bit more alive, in my opinion. It was just kind of sitting there. Needed some fun. Just has a little bit more life to it. Go back and add a little bit more blue. Now I like to play where I kind of lift a little too. So if I'm lifting this color so it's not so intense around some of the blooms. But you still see the color there. Much softer. More interesting actually. So your eye is kind of going up this way. And if I get even darker, it will go even more. See? It'd be more interesting up here. Going up in this area. A little bit more ultramarine blue deep. And some of this fun area of the blossoms. So now it's changed completely, right? It was a nice pale pink picture, but I just decided it needed a little bit more style. Something going on for it. Just throw in a little blue color. No, you don't have to do that. And I kind of moved things around here. Perfectly fine to leave it the way it was. But in my view, I'm always trying to push and see if I like it this way or not like it this way. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Now I add a little bit blue in there, and I might just lift a little of that blue out. I kind of like it pale down here. Like the dramaticness of this in here. I'm just taking my brush, get a little bit deeper color blue in here. And your eye is going to go up in that area. Look at that. So I'm kind of going around the blossoms, negative painting here with that deeper blue. Don't be afraid to play with some flowers that you already painted. And especially if you feel like you're frustrated with them, you don't like them, well, then you go. This is the time to experiment. Adding in some color. So now I'm going to go around some of these. And I really kind of love this area right here. I'm just going to go do a little bit more here. See how that really kind of it really pulls it out. It was just kind of laying flat, like very 2D. It starts to get a little bit more 3D when you're adding in more depth with some darker colors. You gotta experiment. You gotta play. It's the nature of the game there. Now it has some life to it, right? You see? Just something simple like that. So I hope that was fun and interesting. Let me know your thoughts. Just really kind of tapping the color in, having a little fun, adding a little bit more nuance with some color at the end. You didn't have to do that, but see how it completely changed the picture. It was very 2D, right? Now it looks a little bit more 3D, kind of like coming through the branches and the blooms. So I hope this was fun for you. I know I had fun looking at the cherry blossoms in Japan. Lots of things there. I'll probably be doing some more tutorials on the pigments that I bought there. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts below and have fun with this, guys. And remember, play. That's all it's about. It's about play. Okay, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.